Welcome, everyone. Ready to dive into a story that'll leave you wondering just who you can trust.
Oh, I think this one's a doozy.
We're talking about the Baltimore gun trace task force scandal, and
Yeah.
we're using an episode of American Scandal to guide us through it.
You know, crooked cops, hidden cameras, enough betrayal to fill a whole season of, like, a crime drama.
You know what I mean? It makes you ask yourself, like, what happens when the people who are supposed to be upholding the law, right,
Right.
become the criminals themselves?
It's the ultimate,
Yeah,
breach of trust.
exactly.
A total inversion.
So right off the bat, we meet Sergeant Wayne Jenkins.
A head honcho.
Yeah, the leader of this task force. And they paint him as like this charismatic guy,
A real star, supposedly racking up arrests left and right.
getting all the praise, you
All
know.
the accolades.
But there are these little hints
Oh, yeah.
that something's off.
Definitely, right from the beginning.
Like they talk to Ivan Bates.
Right.
This defense attorney
Who actually later became Baltimore's top prosecutor.
exact.
Talk about a twist.
He mentions clients who are saying they were robbed by this, like
The elite unit.
supposedly, yeah.
The irony.
So you have Jenkins with this, golden boy image.
But those who actually dealt with them,
He had a completely different story.
totally different experience. Makes you wonder how they got away with it for so long.
Right, like all those red flags.
Red flags everywhere.
But things finally explode with this crazy FBI raid.
Oh, man.
I mean, they planned this whole thing out.
Super elaborate.
They used a fake hit-and-run call.
To lure the task force officers to the Internal Affairs building.
You can't make this stuff up.
It's like a scene straight out of
A movie.
Yeah.
And the episode takes you right inside the FBI operation, like,
describing all the tension.
yeah,
Agents pacing.
checking those GPS trackers
The waiting. Oh, the waiting.
until they confirm every officer is in custody.
Talk about a nail biter. It's obvious they're not taking any chances.
But even as they're getting arrested, these officers, they're almost like
Nonchalant. Like they're not even worried.
totally. They plead not guilty.
Oh, yeah. Convinced they can beat the charges.
It's like they think they're untouchable.
Untouchable. That's the word for it. Like, they've been operating outside the rules for so long, they believe they're above it all.
I know, it's wild. But that facade starts to crumble when they realize...
They were being watched.
Yeah. They find out about the wiretaps.
And the episode really gets into Herschel's reaction when it dawns on him. They bugged Gondo's car.
Yeah, they overheard a crucial conversation.
That's when it hits him. This is serious business.
Then we meet Jamal Ram.
Gondo's partner, the first domino to fall.
Right. He cracks under the pressure, all that evidence piling up.
He knows he's facing some serious time.
And the prosecutors, Hines and Wise...
They want convictions.
Oh, yeah, they're determined.
They were haunted by a similar case in Philadelphia where
Where corrupt cops actually got away with it.
got off scot-free. And they were determined not to let that happen again.
No way. So Ram agrees to this proffer session.
A meeting to give information for potential leniency.
High stakes. The episode describes this like really tense back and forth.
Right. Where he's just stonewalling, not saying a word.
And Hines, the prosecutor.
He's getting more and more frustrated.
Come on, talk.
Talk about a cliffhanger.
Yeah.
What finally gets him to spill?
Yeah.
And what does he reveal?
Right. I mean, we're left hanging.
We're dying to know.
Totally.
But we do know he spills about a robbery.
Where they used a GPS tracker.
Yeah, they planted it on a drug dealer's car.
Wow. But what's really significant is that he doesn't just,
Admit to his own crime.
like he starts naming names.
Oh, yeah, including Jenkins.
This is where the investigation really blows wide open.
No kidding, like opening Pandora's box.
Yeah.
It's clear this goes way deeper than anyone thought. Ram's cooperation, I mean, that was huge.
It really was.
It's not just talking. He gives them hard proof. Like videos, man.
Oh, wow.
Videos of him and Jenkins robbing people together.
No way.
Yeah, even footage of them at police HQ, like splitting up the loot.
He was basically filming their crimes. What was he thinking?
He called it his quote-unquote insurance.
Oh, wow.
Like a way to protect himself if things went bad.
But it totally backfired.
Big time. And ultimately took Jenkins down with him.
I mean, that audacity to actually film themselves,
It's mind-blowing.
it shows how arrogant they were. They thought they could get away with anything.
Totally. Like they were invincible.
Yeah.
But Stepp's testimony, that wasn't the only thing that hurt Jenkins and the rest of the task force.
What else happened?
The trial for two officers who didn't take a plea deal, Taylor and Herschel, that really showed how their actions hurt the community.
Oh.
The trial wasn't just about proving they did bad stuff. It exposed this awful culture.
In the Baltimore PD.
Yeah, like racism ignoring the law, abusing their power.
It's scary to think about.
Totally. One of the most powerful moments was when Ronald Hamilton testified.
Okay, remind me about him.
He and his wife, they were arrested by the task force,
Right.
held hostage in their own home, robbed of like 20 grand.
It's just awful. That story really shows how real the damage was.
Absolutely. What's really striking is Hamilton's honest about his own past.
I mean, his involvement with drugs.
Yeah, he doesn't hide it. But he makes this really powerful point, like, even someone involved in crime deserves to be treated with dignity, with respect.
Yeah, you can't just trample on people's rights.
Exactly. And on the stand, you can hear his frustration.
He even says, these cops got away with everything until now.
It's so raw,
Yeah.
you know. He's speaking for a lot of people in the community who were targeted, harassed, robbed by the very people who should have protected them.
It's a betrayal of trust on a massive scale.
Absolutely. And this is where the episode goes beyond just the juicy details.
Yeah.
It gets into the bigger picture. The gun trace task force, this wasn't just some random thing. It was a symptom of something broken.
In the system itself.
Exactly. Like the Baltimore PE had a culture that let this happen, that let corruption flourish.
They talk about an independent report that found that, right?
Yeah. They ignored warnings about officers like Jenkins, swept misconduct under the rug.
So it makes you wonder, when the system's meant to hold the police accountable, when those fail.
What recourse do people have?
It's a question Baltimore's still dealing with.
No easy answers there.
So what happened to these officers in the end?
Well, Taylor and Herschel, the ones who went to trial, got 18 years each. Jenkins, he took a plea deal, 25 years.
Wow.
The rest of the task force, Gondo, Ram, Ward, Hendricks, they got between 7 and 12 years.
Justice was served, but it came at a high price.
Deadline.
Baltimore was reeling after this.
Yeah, thousands of cases affected, millions paid out in settlements.
And that trust between the police and the community shattered.
It wasn't just the money or the legal stuff. It was the impact on the people.
Yeah, their faith in law enforcement feeling unsafe.
It's a wound that takes a long time to heal.
So the episode talks about what happened next.
Right, the attempts to reform the police department, the distrust that still lingers.
In Baltimore, trying to rebuild, trying to heal.
They talk about this federal consent decree from 2017.
Okay.
It mandated all these reforms, like community policing, more transparency, holding officers accountable.
Sounds like a step in the right direction.
It was a start. But as of 2023, they still haven't released the stop and search data.
Which makes you wonder, are they really committed to transparency?
Exactly. It raises some red flags.
Plus, there's that new plainclothes unit, the district action team.
Oh, yeah.
They've been accused of using the same aggressive tactics.
Like a bad echo of the past.
And one officer was even caught on video saying, we establish our own probable cause.
Chilling. Right. It's like they learned nothing.
It makes you wonder if anything has really changed.
Yeah. Are these reforms just for show? Or will they actually fix the Baltimore PD? That's the million-dollar question.
It's a lot to take in, you know? It makes you think about, like, how power can be used or misused.
Oh, absolutely. This whole case, it really exposes how insidious power can be, right? When the people we trust to uphold the law, when they become the lawbreakers.
It's like the world's turned upside down.
Exactly. And the consequences, they're huge. It destroys trust. It makes the whole justice system look bad. People feel betrayed, vulnerable.
It's like this ripple effect, right? You have the direct victims of the task force's crimes.
Of course, yeah.
But then, like, the whole city suffers.
The whole fabric of society is affected. People lose faith in the police.
How can you feel safe when you don't trust the people who are supposed to be protecting you?
And rebuilding that trust, it's not a quick fix.
It's a long road.
It takes commitment from both sides, the police and the community. Acknowledging what went wrong, making real changes, showing they're serious about transparency, about being accountable.
Yeah, it's like actions speak louder than words.
Exactly. But it's not just about fixing the police department, you know.
What do you mean?
This gun trace task force scandal, it showed us there are deeper problems.
Like what?
Poverty, inequality, lack of opportunity. Those things create an environment where corruption can take root.
So it's like a societal problem, not just a policing problem.
It's all connected. And that makes finding solutions even harder, more complicated.
It's not a simple fix.
No quick answers here. It needs a multi-pronged approach.
What do you mean?
We have to invest in communities, create opportunities, address those inequalities that fuel crime and corruption. It's about building a society that's fair, that gives everyone a chance.
And the episode does highlight some people who are working toward that, right?
Yeah, definitely. Like Ivan Bates. He went from being a defense attorney to the state's attorney. He's trying to change the system from the inside.
It's encouraging to see people fighting for change.
And there are community groups, too, pushing for reform, building bridges between the police and the people they serve.
It gives you hope that things can get better.
It's a glimmer of hope in a pretty dark situation.
So we've gone deep into the story, really explored it. What does it all mean for us, you know? What should we be taking away from this?
For me, the biggest takeaway is the importance of being an active citizen.
Not just sitting back and letting things happen.
Exactly. We can't be passive.
Yeah.
We have to stay informed about what's happening in our communities, talk to each other, hold our leaders accountable. We have to demand better from the systems that are supposed to be there for us.
That means paying attention to local politics, supporting groups fighting for justice reform, speaking up when we see injustice.
Hitting the streets, making our voices heard, it all matters. This case shows us that justice doesn't just happen. It's something we have to fight for together all the time.
It's easy to feel overwhelmed by these kinds of stories, you know? Like, what can one person do?
I know what you mean. But history shows us that individual actions can make a difference. They can spark bigger movements, lead to real change.
So every voice counts, every action, no matter how small.
Exactly. Every act of courage, every demand for accountability, every effort to build bridges, it all adds up to a better, fairer future. This Baltimore gun trace task force scandal is a terrible thing. But it can also be a wake-up call, a chance to create positive change.
This deep dive, it's been eye-opening, but also, honestly, a little disturbing. It reminds us that we all have a part to play in making sure justice is served, that those in power are held accountable for what they do. Thank you for joining us on this journey, and let's keep this conversation going, even after this deep dive is over.